Good morning. I'd like to welcome everybody today to the December 16th, 2025 Cemetery and Funeral Bureau Stakeholder Meeting. My name is Gina Cheverini Sanchez. I am the Bureau Chief, and I'd like to call this meeting to order. It is the Bureau's mission to safeguard consumers by licensing and regulating the death care industry through policies and practices that protect the health, safety, and general welfare of Californians. I'd like to thank everyone for being here. Before we begin, I will briefly go over a few logistics for this hybrid meeting. If you are interested in participating in the meeting by making a public comment, you must have mic ability through your device. If you do not, there is a phone call-in option. All lines are currently on mute and will remain on mute until I open it up for public comment. The link to join the WebEx event, along with the call-in information, is available on the agenda. You can find the agenda on CSB's Advisory Committee webpage. That page can be found from our homepage, right in a red box at the top center or under the quick hits on the right side. Our website is csb.ca.gov. This meeting is being recorded and a link will be placed on our website sometime after the meeting. We have two agenda items today. After each agenda item has been presented, I will open it up for public comment. This approach is necessary to facilitate this meeting and to ensure the Bureau can complete its necessary business. Again, I appreciate everyone's understanding and patience as we navigate this hybrid meeting. I would now like to ask the moderator to share other general instructions before we begin. Moderator?
Moderator, when we move to public comment, individuals on WebEx can click the raise hand icon at the bottom of their WebEx screen. And if you are a call-in or audio-only participant, you can raise your hand by pressing *3 on your device. I'll show instructions each time during public comment for your reminder. You'll be given 5 minutes to speak with a 15-second warning, and at that time, you'll be muted and we'll move on to the next individual requesting public comment.
Okay, thank you very much. So we'll move on to public comment on items not on the agenda. So thank you very much, moderator. At this time, we'll take public comment for items not on the agenda. Please note I cannot comment on what's said during this agenda item as stated in detail on the agenda for this meeting. If there is anybody in the audience who would like to make any public comments about issues not related to our agenda item regarding unlicensed and abandoned cemeteries, you may do so at this time. I will turn it over to the moderator to open for public comment.
All right, this is the moderator for members of the public on WebEx. If you would like to make a public comment for items not on the agenda, please click that raise hand icon, or if you're an audio-only participant, you can raise your hand by pressing *3 on your device. And I'll give the people on WebEx just a moment. In the meantime, I just want to confirm there are no public members in the El Dorado room, correct?
There are public members, but they do not at this time have public comment.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. And I saw someone did raise their hand for a second, but they lowered it. I'll give a couple more moments for anyone who would like to make a public comment for items not on the agenda to please raise your hand. All right, I do have a request from Scott Drolet. And Scott, you'll be given 5 minutes to speak and a 15-second warning. Please click the unmute me button when the prompt appears on your device.
Hello, thank you. I am supposed to be a panelist on this, but my email address isn't allowing me to log in.
Can your okay, let's see. I'm not sure. So you should can you, but you can still participate as an attendee. I'm not sure I'm not sure if we have panelists necessarily on this meeting, just because it's specific to public comment.
Very good. I just panicked a little bit because I put in my email address and it didn't recognize me. So I thought, all right, well, I will be here then. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, right. Is there any other public comment?
This is the moderator. It appears there are no further requests for public comment at this time.
All right, well, thank you very much. Let's move on to agenda item 3, which is why we're all here today. I'm going to present on this issue and then I will open it up for a public comment. I'm going to provide some background on purpose as to why we're here today. So CFB currently regulates 190 privately owned licensed cemeteries. Public cemeteries, church-owned or religious cemeteries, and small cemeteries established prior to 1939 without endowment care funds fall outside of Bureau oversight. The Bureau's authority is to ensure compliance among licensed operators and businesses, but when cemetery businesses fail, often because of dwindling sales due to limited spaces to sell, cemeteries risk abandonment. Once a license has been revoked, canceled, or surrendered, the cemetery becomes unlicensed and therefore unregulated by the CFB. Cemetery property owned by a private owner now has property containing community history and loved ones. Property owners abandon the cemetery, leaving it to become overgrown and unkempt. Currently, there are no mandates for continued care and access once unlicensed and abandoned. Private licensed cemeteries are mandated to hold an endowment care trust fund. This fund provides for perpetual maintenance. However, without anyone to oversee maintenance on the property, the funds are not fully utilized. Additionally, many cemeteries have insufficient balances in their endowment care. The Bureau's 2017 study identified 43 licensed cemeteries with underfunded accounts and limited burial space, creating financial instability. Additionally, even with a well-funded ECF, as we call them, there are significant statutory gaps. Current statutes are permissive rather than mandatory, leaving the responsibility of maintenance and access unclear. Specifically, Business and Professions Code, or you'll hear me say BPC, 7653.9 allows the court to appoint a temporary manager or allows counties to assume care. However, this law is permissive, lacks clarity on which entity petitions the court, and its intent was to provide only short-term solutions. Additionally, BPC 7614 grants cities and counties authorities to act when public health or safety is threatened. This statute does not mandate regular upkeep, however, only reactive measures, and is not cost-effective for long-term cemetery preservation. The overall legislative structure of cemetery regulation in California reveals a challenge. Cemeteries are forever, permanent community fixtures, but the private businesses that operate them may not be. When lack of licensure then leads to abandonment, statutory frameworks provide only limited permissive authority for local governments to intervene. This leaves many cemeteries without clear responsibility for ongoing care, creating risks to public health, safety, and the preservation of community heritage. That is why we are here today. As reported at our last advisory committee meeting, Senate Bill 777 passed this legislative session, amending Business and Professions Code 7612.12, moved up the due date to convene a work group made of specific individuals who are directed to provide the legislature solutions to this issue. This meeting is being held as part of the broader stakeholder engagement envisioned by 777 to ensure the work group is informed and provided the public perspective. As we enter the public comment period, I encourage participants not to belabor the problem or the issue, but to share your specific needs, introduce ideas, and recommend legislative solutions. Comments made here today will be documented and provided to the representatives of the work group as they develop legislative options. As the moderator said, each person will be allotted 5 minutes so we can ensure we have time to hear everyone. I would now like to open it up for public comment. Moderator.
All right, this is the moderator for members of the public on WebEx. If you would like to make a public comment on this item, please click that raise hand icon, or if you're an audio only participant, you can raise your hand by pressing *3 on your device. All right, and it does look like we have a couple requests for public comment. Give me one moment. All right, and so first I have Nicole. Nicole, you'll be given 5 minutes to speak and a 15-second warning. Please click the unmute me button when the prompt appears on your device. And Nicole, if you are
Can you hear
currently,
me? Can you hear
yes, we
me?
can hear you now.
Oh, there she is.
Okay, hi. I don't think you can see me though, right? I don't know if you want to put video.
No, we do not have
Just the
video
audio.
capabilities for attendees right now.
Okay, so first of all, I want to thank all of you for paying attention to this important issue and for giving the public, people like myself, an opportunity to share our concerns and our views. So my family has lived in Mill Valley for 69 years, and my father and grandparents are buried out at Mount Tamalpais Cemetery. In fact, my grandparents were initially at Colma Cemetery, and my parents moved them to the Mount Tamalpais Cemetery, and my father is now buried alongside them. So I have obviously enormous concerns about long-term maintenance and oversight. And it's also important to me and to my family and to our community that there be a dependable Jewish burial options for our community. And I wanted to stress the importance of the cemetery and funeral board ensuring that the clients and the customers of the businesses that they regulate are well protected, and that state law give the CFB the ability to shut down bad actors quickly and protect the assets that are entrusted to them. So again, I want to thank you very much for this opportunity and to just convey the incredible importance of Mount Tamalpais Cemetery to me, to my family, and to the community. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comment. Appreciate that. We do have a public comment in-house here in Sacramento. Jerry Desmond, I'll turn it over to you.
Sure. I'm Jerry Desmond on behalf of the Cemetery and Mortuary Association of California. And we also appreciate the opportunity to have a dialogue about the issues of abandoned cemeteries and possible routes to remedy going forward. And we have a couple of comments. We have been engaged with SB 777 as it was active in the legislative process, and we certainly acknowledge the concerns of families when there isn't abandoned cemeteries and the issues that were presented and discussed as that bill moved forward to create this process. And maybe a couple of observations that might be helpful to the thought process that will follow, today's public comments would be that first, as an association, the Cemetery and Mortuary Association of California has been a strong proponent of endowment care funds in order to provide for, for the continuation of the property and to be maintained after spaces are full. And we certainly appreciate the difficulties when there is a cemetery abandoned. And if we look at the discussion of this issue that's taken place through legislative oversight hearings and sunset review processes, as well as the legislative consideration of bills such as SB 777, what comes to mind are a couple of perspectives. One is that it looks like perhaps what we have is a short-term issue with cemeteries that have been identified as either having been recently abandoned or soon to be abandoned. And I think those are identified in the sunset review process and some of the documents that have been submitted and considered by the Senate Policy Committee and the Assembly Policy Committee. And when we look at those situations, what could be done short term in order to help? A couple of thoughts that come to mind are, right now it appears that the statutory authority for the Bureau is really prescribed towards if there is an abandoned or neglected cemetery, suspend or revoke the COA, the Certificate of Authority, and wondering whether there could be an intermediate step before a COA is declared to be abandoned, because then we have the situation where families and those that are at need are not able to provide for, be able to have their loved ones taken care of. And so could there be something interim to the current process that would enable, for instance, could there be an effort working with those who are active in the industry and who could serve as a temporary manager, who could sort of work with the Bureau in those situations to continue to have some kind of operation and to then transition towards a permanent solution. And would that permanent solution be a pioneer cemetery? Would it be a park? Would it be a nonprofit foundation? I understand that community groups have stepped forward in a number of these situations, and with a lot of manpower and a lot of extraordinary effort being made, that they're able to make some, to accomplish some help. When we look at long-term solutions, sort of looking forward past the immediate situation, there are also some perspectives. We're informed as an industry whose members are licensed by, subject to the laws that protect consumers with cemeteries. We are active in order to try to prevent the abandonment of cemeteries. And over the last several years, there have been some legislative initiatives that we have supported. An example would be several years ago, following consideration in the legislature and in the administration and the Bureau and in public hearings, we supported legislation to significantly increase the minimum amounts that must be deposited into the endowment care funds by cemeteries significantly, so that there would be more funds to try to help prevent, financial difficulties. Similarly, we sponsored legislation that was enacted into law to look at the long-term viability of endowment care funds and to be able to provide better investments so that it would grow in a more significant way with consumer protections, with reporting. And so we are informed by actions that have been taken to try to, that we intend to make the situation different, better going forward. And so we have some questions that come
15
when we
seconds.
look at long-term solutions that could inform the discussions. In 10 seconds, they are, what factors does the Bureau consider in determining the amount of endowment care funds and whether they're sufficient or insufficient for a property? Do the required annual reports that cemeteries provide and file to the Bureau, are those annual reports informative, or what's missing there? Does the statutory authority for the Bureau to identify problematic situations, including property inspections and maintenance standards compliance, does that have a role in what is missing? And then what difficulties are being experienced by the Bureau in identifying, potential purchasers of properties so that they continue and be viable? And we raise those to try to see if there's information about what the current tools are that are available, and by statute, what needs to be enhanced so that cemeteries can be identified early on when there's a problem and action can be taken before we get to the terrible situation that has arisen in some cases. And thank you. Sorry, I went over.
No, thank you. Thank you very much for your comment. And I think that's perfect because it leads me to this next comment, where if we do run out of time for your comment, I would appreciate email cfb@dca.ca.gov. We will accept any comments that way if you have anything additional to say. I appreciate your comments, Jerry. Thank you very much.
All right,
back to the moderator for the next one.
Yep, this is the moderator, our next individual requesting public comment, Bayla Esther. And Bayla, you'll be given 5 minutes to speak and a 15-second warning. Please click the unmute me button when the prompt appears on your device. And then for, I do see that we have a lot of audio only participants. If you would like to make a public comment on this item, you can raise your hand by pressing *3 on your device.
Okay, thank you. My mother died in Los Angeles 7 years ago this week at age 99. She wanted specifically to be buried at Mount Tam because it was so beautiful and because it's near family. My husband and I have regularly, and my other family members, tried to visit the gravesite, and the degree of disrepair continues to be outrageous and horrible, beyond our ability to fix it. And we've been told that the synagogue that sponsored this, to which we paid for the gravesite, can't do anything about it because of liability issues. So essentially, my mother's grave is in disrepair, and there's a Yiddish expression, it's a shanda, it's a shame, it's an embarrassment, it's disgusting. And there's nothing we can do about it. I am shocked
Yes, thank you for your comment.
All right, this is the moderator. Next, I have Sarah McClendon. And Sarah, you'll be given 5 minutes to speak and a 15-second warning. Please click the unmute me button when the prompt appears on your device.
Hello, yes, this is Sarah McClendon, and I'm speaking very personally because of the family that I have buried there. Excuse me, this becomes emotional. Two of my brothers are buried there, a nephew and 2 in-laws, and the degree of destruction by gophers is so disheartening. We have gone out and put up steel garden borders to protect monuments that were completely buried by the dirt, and have spoken to a maintenance person there about the drippings of a tree that has badly marked one of my brother's monuments. And we've taken cleaning products out and done the best we can for cleaning. At this point, and for at least the past year, virtually all of the flat monuments are buried by the diggings of gophers. And although the cemetery protects wildlife, and I appreciate that, I live very near a lot of wildlife and I love it, but it's very disheartening that nothing is being done to deal with this. So I have done research, and I know there are solid plans that can be executed to deal with gopher diggings. I've dealt with them in my own garden, and I know it can be done. So I'm just asking that something is put in place for the immediacy and we don't get lost in a forever non-plan to deal with this. I understand there are limitations on any service when a cemetery becomes unlicensed. So does that mean that there are absolutely no services allowed at this cemetery? And this is Mount Tam, in case I didn't say that. And are there restrictions on what we can do at our family grave sites to deal with the immediate problems? So that's it. I'm just hoping that for the sake of all of us who have family buried there and have seen this disrepair continue for so long, that there can be some answers. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for your comment. I do want to say for very specific, situations, getting a family member buried in these unlicensed cemeteries, I do recommend, and I just want to tell everybody online after listening to Sarah, thank you for your comment. Contact the Bureau. We can definitely help navigate that for you. We have information to provide. We can try and connect you with the property owner, work with the local funeral establishment. to get a burial done. So we do recommend calling us when, when there is a space already purchased and you're trying to get your loved one in their final resting place. So, even through this, without clear legislation, the Bureau, our local licensees are still there to serve the consumers. So just want to say that. Thank you. Back to you, moderator.
All right, this is the moderator. Next, I have Benny Jones. And Benny, you'll be given 5 minutes to speak and a 15-second warning. Please click the unmute me button when the prompt appears on your device.
Good morning, and thank you for the opportunity to speak today. Listening to everyone who's spoken before me, and I understand the pain and how difficult it is to share this morning. I live in Palmdale, but I have family that's buried in the Lincoln Memorial Cemetery in the city of Compton. And the pain that you feel when you want to go visit them, but you can't because the cemetery has been abandoned and it's there's overbrush and all type of vandalism that's there, and it is so difficult to share with you today. I've written to you several times, I've attended the meetings, and I understand what Sarah and Bela are saying because that pain is so difficult to convey to you. I know that you are looking at different input from stakeholders in the community, and I just want to impress upon you, if it is possible, to just consider maybe doing something for the landscaping or providing security to avoid the vandalism, because seeing that your loved ones and their final resting places are being desecrated in this manner, there's just no way to really express how that feels. So I'm glad that you are hearing us today and that there is a possibility that there may be some type of legislation that may come about from this. And that's what I'm here for today, to hear that so many other people are experiencing this. I'm sorry that we are enjoined in this, but I'm hoping that some good will come from this meeting today. Thank you.
Us too. Thank you very much.
All right, this is the moderator. Next, I have Tracy Klaupow. And Tracy, you'll be given 5 minutes to speak and a 15-second warning. Please click the unmute me button when the prompt appears on your device.
Good morning. My name is Tracy Klaupow, and I'm the Executive Director of Congregation Rodef Shalom. And I'm here on behalf of our congregation and hundreds of families who have loved ones buried at Mount Tamalpais Cemetery. For generations, Mount Tam has been a sacred place for our community, a place to mourn, remember, and honor those we have lost. Our congregants and our clergy visit regularly. This is not an abstract issue for us. It is deeply personal. While we are grateful for the recent legal actions to protect the Endowment Care Fund, the reality is that the core problems remain unresolved. When families purchase burial plots, they are told and they believe that the Endowment Care Funds exist so the cemetery will be maintained forever. The paths will be safe, graves respected, and future generations will find dignity, not neglect. The promise has been broken. As the court has already found, significant portions of the Endowment Care Fund were misused and mishandled. These funds were legally and morally intended to ensure ongoing care. Because these were misappropriated, the cemetery today lacks the resources necessary to meet even basic standard of safety and upkeep. The cemetery continues to operate without licensed professional management. Maintenance is inadequate, safety concerns, including uneven ground, overgrown weeds, headstones tipping over, deteriorating roads, failing infrastructure, remain unaddressed. Families should not have to worry about their safety in a place meant to offer peace. A cemetery is not simply real estate, it's sacred ground. Families see the consequences every time they visit. The funds meant to protect this sacred space were not protected. The state has responsibility to consumers, to families who paid for perpetual care, to ensure cemeteries are properly managed and financially overseen. That responsibility is not being met. We are grateful for the involvement of the Cemetery Bureau, but the slow pace of action and the slow pace of getting a trustee involved has left our community in limbo. We urge the Bureau to act now, remove the current management, appoint a qualified professional oversight so the restoration can finally begin. Our community wants to partner in this solution, but we can't move forward without a decisive action. Thank you.
Thank you, Tracy.
All right, this is the moderator. Next, I have Gordon Gladstone. And Gordon, you'll be given 5 minutes to speak with a 15-second warning. Please click the unmute me button when the prompt appears on your device.
Good morning. My name is Gordon Gladstone. I am the Executive Director of Congregation Kol Shofar. Like Congregation Moed Shalom, we purchased plots at Mount Tamalpais back in 1989. It is very clear as we have moved through over almost 2 years now of litigation around the state of Mount Tamalpais Cemetery that the Cemetery and Funeral Bureau lacks the proper enforcement mechanisms to govern this industry. It is also very clear that this industry and its association are utterly uninterested in policing itself, enforcing best practices of its members, and seeing to the fact that consumers are protected. The Cemetery and Funeral Bureau falls under the auspices of the Department of Consumer Affairs. It is very clear to me and members of my congregation that no consumers are being protected in this process. The legislation is clearly a product of the influence of the association and not designed to protect the interests of the people who are interring family members and other loved ones. A solution is to expand the power and the authority of the Cemetery and Funeral Bureau to offer additional enforcement possibilities, including revocature and shutting down cemeteries that fail to adhere to the laws that are in place. Further, and this may be a radical proposition, I believe that the entirety of the industry would be best served if special care funds and, most importantly, endowment care funds are in fact managed by the CFB and not left to the misuse or temptation of misuse by individual cemetery and funeral operators. I thank you for your time. I look forward to progress on this issue.
Thank you.
All right, this is the moderator. Next, I have Kim Mitchell. And Kim, you'll be given 5 minutes to speak and a 15-second warning. Please click the unmute me button when the prompt appears on your device.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes,
Okay.
we can. Good morning.
Hi. So I'm just a consumer, but I am very inspired by both Tracy and Mr. Gladstone's comments. In my situation, my family has long lived in Marin, and about 3 decades ago bought 9 plots in the Rodolph Shalom, in the Jewish section. And at this point, we haven't had to bury anyone, but my parents are in their early 90s, and we are expecting to do so for the first time. I don't live nearby, but I have other family members that do. So one of my points I would love to have opinions on is just, should we still go ahead with even burying any family members there, or walk away? I have been, over the past 3 years, working with the current people at Mount Tam about the site, because we were trying to put up a family headstone in the area and some other things. I've gone through probably 3 or 4 different people as they continue to leave, just my personal experience. They've all tried their best to be cooperative, but they really don't have, answers at hand. Even getting historical information as far as what would be in their nearby files has been very difficult for them. But when I've met with them either in person or on the phone, they're trying to be cooperative. I understand, how complex this issue is. Another point I just wanted to see if anyone had an answer to was, I was happy to read about the additional updates with the fire safety, landscape and future planning, the financial oversight with the trustee, but could we hear an update on the timing of these things as far as when they estimate we'll have those? And lastly, just as far as trying to think of ideas, I feel like the facilitation by some of the 2 people that last spoke would be sensational, since they represent so many, but they also could be involved with additional fundraising once the tide is turned, contacting families maybe that have plots there to add to the endowment care, just because they may find that there's people that want to do that, contacting local conservation or scouts groups to clean up in different areas. I don't know if there's an existing nonprofit to bring in, but I don't know if there's if there's an entity right now that does come in and handle these kinds of things. But those were just some of my thoughts, again, just as a person who was curious about this. I have not been involved at all previously. So A, should we still go ahead and do burials? B, can we get some updates on some of the financial oversight, landscaping, that type of thing? And 3, is there already an entity that exists that can work in California that can step into that role? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kim. We will take all of those points into consideration. I appreciate that.
All right, this is the moderator. Our next individual requesting public comment is a call-in user ending in 66. And for our call-in user, I'll request to unmute your microphone. You'll be given 5 minutes to speak with a 15-second warning. You're going to press *6 on your device to unmute. All right, this is the moderator for our call-in user with the number ending in 66. I'm going to request to unmute your microphone again. You're going to press *6 on your device to unmute yourself. Okay, and this is the moderator for our call-in user with the number ending in 66. Oh, I see you're unmuted
Hello,
now.
can you hear me?
Yes, now we can hear you.
There we go.
Sorry about that. I
Yeah,
had this
no
meeting going
worries.
as well as the phone call because I don't have a hands up button. My name is Corey Levitan. I was a longtime member of a longtime member of Road of Shalom along with my family. I currently have an uncle that's buried there and a father who's there. My mother is in her late 70s and she is supposed to be buried there in the future, as well as myself and my husband. I have been out there every time I come up from Southern California to visit because I'm now relocated down here. And I would like to know a couple of things, and that is, should I not plan to be buried there myself or my mother or my husband? And do I need at this point to exhume my father and move him to a more appropriate place that is going to follow through with the care that they said they would provide? In addition to that, I would like to understand why the person who currently owns Mount Tamalpais Cemetery is not behind bars for doing what he has done with the endowment fund, so on and so forth. This is life altering for us because it's a decision that I am not taking lightly, but I am not comfortable with the situation as it is and how long this is dragged out, that there's nobody seems to be paying attention. So do I need to pull my father out of the ground there and rebury him and make new plans for all of us while the money that we spent to make these plans is then gone? Thank you.
Thank you. Those are very personal questions that I understand that we all have to take into account for those of us that have loved ones at these unlicensed cemeteries. And hopefully with what we're here today and what the work group does, the report is due to the legislature on June 1st. So we are have high hopes that this legislative session we should start seeing some movement. Thank you for your comment.
All right, this is the moderator. Next I have Catherine Ono. And Catherine, you'll be given 5 minutes to speak and a 15-second warning. Please click the unmute me button when the prompt appears on your device.
Thank you very much. Yeah, my maiden name is Green, and there's 100 years of history of our family in Mount Tamalpais Cemetery. My grandparents were very active members of St. John's Episcopal Church in San Anselmo. And my father, my grandfather, my grandmother, all kinds of relatives are all buried there. And last year, my younger sister and I went to tried to visit my father's grave, and we could not find it. And she went later to the office, and it's sunk because of the gopher activity. And she's been back 3 or 4 times. And all I can say is, I mean, everyone's been really polite and really measured. I am pissed, and it's a shit show, and it's inexcusable. And if, you know, I just want to express that. I know it's none of you at that table, it's none of your fault, but everyone has been very measured in their response. But I think people are hurt, they're angry, they're upset. I have seen well-managed cemeteries, and definitely Mount Tamalpais is not. And ones that are old and have a lot of history. I have a daughter buried at Mount Auburn Cemetery in Massachusetts, and that's a beautifully run cemetery. So I'm very grateful that this has come to the attention of the legislation, and I think the urgency with which this should be attended to can't be undervalued. And I have like 6 siblings that are all Californians and all kinds of cousins, and they're all voting members of the public, and this is a really serious issue. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak, and I hope I didn't offend anyone with my a little bit pirate type language, salty language. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine, for your comments. We do understand the gravity and the devastation that this has caused so many Californians here. So I appreciate you. Thank you.
All right, this is the moderator. Our next individual requesting to speak is Sarah. And Sarah, you'll be given 5 minutes to speak and a 15-second warning. Please click the unmute me button when the prompt appears on your device.
Hi, my name is Sarah Reichenbacher, and I am here today wearing 3 hats. I'm a daughter whose mother is buried at Mount Tamalpais. I am a neighbor who lives on 5th Avenue. I am maybe the only person on this call who can see Mount Tamalpais Cemetery from my window right now. And then obviously also as a California consumer. So the things that I think everybody has made some really compelling comments, and I obviously share a lot of those sentiments, so I won't belabor all of them. But I feel that as a consumer, the oversight has just been way too slow. We have already fulfilled our end of the contract. We own 3 plots. We have paid into that endowment care fund. And those funds are legally intended to ensure this ongoing care and maintenance. And given that we have already prepaid for those services, we need faster action for the state to ensure that we receive them. I also think that in terms of timing, the Bureau needs the power to protect these funds much sooner when these red flags start to happen. Obviously, they have been going on for some time now, as many of the people on this call can attest to. And in all of that time, they've been able to drain these accounts while the grass grows to the height of the headstones. We are unable to bring our children to go see their grandmother's grave because it is unsafe for kids to be walking in an area where this is the case. So, lastly, also as a neighbor and a community member, the physical threat of this neglect is just cannot be overstated. The wildfire threats, and I do appreciate the recent action, but I just want to underscore how timely all of these things need to be as we get to the next wildfire season. And then just as a community member, I see this just take a huge toll on the dignity of our community, forced to visit my mother's grave in hiking boots because the roads are crumbling and it's so hazardous. Our loved ones deserve the rest that we have already paid for. And our neighborhood really deserves to feel safe. So my ask is just that this group lead a really coordinated effort to support our community. I think there are lots of people and organizations who could be involved, and someone needs to coordinate that. So that would be my request. And I appreciate the opportunity to speak.
Thank you very much.
All right, this is the moderator. Next, I have Joan Gosliner. And Joan, you'll be given 5 minutes to speak with a 15-second warning. Please click the unmute me button when the prompt appears on your device. All right, and this is the moderator. Joan, if you are currently speaking, we cannot hear you. I'm going to request oh, wait.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, now we can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah.
So my husband and 2 other members of Road of Shalom originally found the beautiful section on the top of Mount Tamalpais Cemetery and negotiated with the owner an arrangement where we would have burials. And it's a mitzvah to buy pre-need so that your loved ones don't have to worry about where you're going to be buried. And we encourage so many people to buy pre-need, and the Jewish guilt now about this whole arrangement is overwhelming. 20 years ago, the Cemetery Bureau was aware of a problem with Mr. Campenhausen and chose to do nothing about it, which is very upsetting. One thing we're wondering is if there's any kind of insurance, if somebody should get hurt at the cemetery, or if something should happen, what happens? And there was a suit against Mr. Campenhausen, and what happened to that money? Weren't any of his assets seized to help take care of some of this? The whole thing is very upsetting. And somebody suggested donating, people that own plots to donate to add to the pre-need. And we're wondering if that could be a donation through our congregation, and then that money would be used to improve the cemetery. Anyway, I'm glad that somebody is looking into this, but it needed to happen so many years ago, and there was awareness. And thank you for listening.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing, for your comment.
All right, this is the moderator. Next, I have Paula Levine. And Paula, you'll be given 5 minutes to speak and a 15-second warning. Please click the unmute me button when the prompt appears on your device.
Hello. I thank you for letting me have the opportunity to speak. I'm a member of Road of Shalom, Congregation Road of Shalom, and my husband was buried at Mount Tam about 13 years ago. And I have plans to be buried there myself. And I'm just glad that there's going to hopefully be legislation that'll work on this problem in the future. I didn't prepare a lot of remarks because I didn't really know what this was about until yesterday, and I'm just sort of catching up by listening. But I strongly support everything that Tracy Kaplow and the person from Kol Shofar said, and all the other people have said. The last time I tried to visit my husband, I couldn't get there because the road was closed. And it's just disappointing. You make all these plans, you make the special arrangements, and you can't get there. And that was sort of sad. So anyhow, that's all I have to say. And thank you very much. I do hope that the legislation solves this problem. I attended the trial in Fairfield, and I know that that's why this is still going on. And I'm glad that the state has control of or I thought the state had control of the funds, and I'm glad that there's going to be legislation that'll hopefully solve this problem. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Paula.
All right, this is the moderator. Next, I have Josh Tuttle. And Josh, you'll be given 5 minutes to speak with a 15-second warning. Please click the unmute me button when the prompt appears on your device.
Perfect. Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes,
Great.
we
Thank
can.
you. Seems to me that we could come at this one of two different ways. Right now, we have an abandoned cemetery problem because they exist. The other end of the thing is the oversight and making sure that this doesn't happen in the future. And so I don't think punishing the good actors for the bad is really the solution here. It would be more if we take it from the looking in out the windshield at what does the Bureau need to identify operators that are at risk of becoming abandoned sooner. So endowment care reports, inspection reports, those sorts of things. So what do we need to have tools at our disposal to recognize this? Then kind of the transition plan, like, okay, if they're becoming vulnerable, let's say it that way, is there a transition plan where then the state takes over the funds, works with the local operators to continue providing burials? I liked that idea, Gina, with the talk to the CFB. If we've got a problem, we need to do a burial, we can maybe facilitate that. But then the actual care of the cemetery, it really seems to me that these are part of our communities, and the municipality then would probably ultimately have to take it over and be akin to a park. And so it would be financed and funded in terms of maintenance that way. And so working it back from the other way, like Mount Tam, if that became part of the municipality and they were responsible for actually doing the maintenance and keeping the standards up, then that would maybe solve that portion of it. If we needed to do a burial out there and they were able to get to the state somehow through some sort of a mechanism through the CFB, let's say we have an abandoned cemetery, but we own pre-need and we want to be there with our loved ones. If there's a mechanism created for that, that then the state can have oversight on that sort of thing. And then again, backing up the other way again on what does the Bureau need to make sure that this doesn't happen. And I don't know if it's, more information, better help digesting the information that you have. I'm not sure. So anyway, that's just kind of what this seems like to me. Thanks for the time.
Thank you very much, Josh, for those ideas.
All right, this is the moderator. Next, I have Cheryl Lazar. And Cheryl, you'll be given 5 minutes to speak with a 15-second warning. Please click the unmute me button when the prompt appears on your device. And this is the moderator, Cheryl. If you're speaking, we currently cannot hear you. I'm going to request to unmute again. Please click the unmute me button when the prompt appears on your device.
now?
Yes, now we can hear you.
Yes, we
Excellent,
can.
excellent. Thanks for allowing me to speak. I regularly take my 87-year-old dad to visit my mom, his wife of 55 years. My mom is buried at the Mount Tamalpais Cemetery in the Shrei Shalom section, and she's buried on a slope in that area. There were wooden stairs built on one side of the slope, but my mother is buried on the opposite side of where the stairs are. And not only am I scared for myself, for my safety walking across the landscape, but I'm literally terrified for my father. I have to hold him tight while being fearful that one of us is going to fall. We cross over rocks, worrying about twisting our ankles, holes that are made by gophers. In the summer, there's weeds that cover the gravestones, and in the winter, we're worried about slipping down the hill. So I just wanted to say it's not only just a disgrace to see the conditions where our loved ones are buried, but it poses an extreme danger of injury to all of those that visit. So I just wanted to say I support Tracy Clappo and Gordon Gladstone's requests for resolvement. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for sharing, Cheryl. Thank you.
All right, this is the moderator. Next I have Terry. And Terry, you'll be given 5 minutes to speak with a 15-second warning. Please click the unmute me button when the prompt appears on your device.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Yeah.
Okay, my name is Terry Rosenthal, member of Congregation Rosh Shalom. My mother and father are buried at Mount Tam Cemetery, and my father was on the board of Congregation Rosh Shalom and on the committee that put the Congregation Rosh Shalom at the cemetery. And I just want to say that we've been told untruths by the management of the cemetery at Mount Tam. They've told us that water by the city has been stopped and they can't do anything. They put gum down the gopher holes to prevent that, but the cemetery is in deplorable condition. It's not right. It's not humane. And other cemeteries in the county are beautiful. Look at the ones in Novato that are privately run. We're contemplating moving my mother and my father that are looking, their grave sites are looking at Mount Tam. It's a beautiful view of the cemetery, but it's deplorable condition. We've been lied to by management. I might say that maybe lie is too hard or harsh, but there are untruths, and it's not right to do that to the congregation and to members that have loved ones that live at the cemetery. We're also have purchased 2 graves there on the slope side, which the previous person has identified as very dangerous, and it is very dangerous. We're in our 80s, my wife and I, and it's hard to go down that slope, and I would say it would be even harder for somebody in their 90s or in an advanced age at that time. But this is not right. Something has got to be done. 20 years is too long to wait for something to happen. There's got to be an interim management. There's got to be somebody that cares. The owner doesn't care. The owner has very pressured the management. They provide them with very bribes. They provide them with a lot of money to do their bidding and continue their lives. And something needs to be done by the state. Don't just hesitate. Do something now, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Terry, for your comment.
All right, this is the moderator. Appears there are no further requests for public comment on WebEx at this time.
Okay,
I
and I don't
apologize.
see any.
I apologize. I got a couple of requests. And one of them.
Oh, okay, no, no problem. Yes, please.
Usually when I say no more requests, that's when it'll prompt people. I did see a couple hands go up and then lower. So if you do still want to make a comment, please keep your hand raised. First I have Dr. Julian Lifshitz, and Dr. Lifshitz, you'll be given 5 minutes to speak and a 15-second warning. Please click the unmute me button when the prompt appears on your device. This is the moderator, Dr. Lifshitz. I see that you are unmuted, but I'm not hearing any audio. Let me request to unmute again and see if that... All right. Unfortunately, I am not hearing any audio. I can put up some instructions on the screen for audio issues. I'll circle back with you in just a moment. And if that doesn't seem to have resolved it, I can try opening up the chat for you to type in your comment. In the meantime, we'll move on to the next person. I have a call-in user with the number ending in 42. For our call-in user, you'll be given 5 minutes to speak and a 15-second warning. You're going to press *6 on your device to unmute yourself.
Hi, my name is Sherry Manning Cartwright. I am the director of Ararat Armenian Cemetery in Fresno. And we are, in about 24 hours, signing an initial purchase agreement to take ownership of an abandoned cemetery that was never licensed. It is an ethnic Chinese cemetery that was founded in 1913 and still has somewhere between 350 and 500 burials in it. You might ask, why are we doing this? Part of it is they do have usable acreage left that we will be able to make use of. At the same time, we are viewing it as two strong, proud immigrant groups in the Central Valley coming together to help take care of each other. And we are very, very proud to be in this partnership with the local Chinese community. My heart goes out to the families who are speaking of the situation at Mount Tam. It is similar at the local Chinese cemetery. We're only talking about roughly an acre of burials here, but it is overgrown with weeds. Frequently there are homeless encampments set up. There's been desecration of headstones and of a very old altar for making offerings. And we are looking forward to becoming the custodian of these burials and partnering actually with a group in Washington, D.C., as well as the local community to try to make it a historical setting where people can come and learn about immigration in the Central Valley, as well as a place where families who have loved ones buried there can go and honor them. I wanted to offer this as an example. This is something we've done completely locally, outside the purview of being forced to by any legislation or anything. It's actually been about a decade of us putting good thought and sentiment out to the Chinese community, offering our assistance. And I think what we can offer, obviously we haven't succeeded yet. We are just about to enter into an initial contract to start the due diligence period. But I think what we can offer as an example is we've gone back and forth with the local Chinese community in the form of the Chinese Consolidated Benevolent Association and worked with them on what a fair purchase price is. They are donating the purchase price back to us for the establishment of a maintenance fund for that property. And they'll continue to donate to us every year for the next 10 years to put into that maintenance fund, with the goal of having a fund that is sufficient to maintain that acre or so of Chinese burials under the auspices of the Armenian cemetery. And like I said, we are about 24 hours away from signing this initial contract. This is after months of negotiations and years of laying the groundwork with them. And so we're embarking on something new and exciting, and we really hope it succeeds. And if it does, we hope maybe we can be an example for how other small cemeteries can work with unlicensed properties, maybe to help maintain them and help honor the people who are buried there. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Thank you so much for your comment, and obviously for your efforts in trying to come in and oversee one of these older cemeteries that never was licensed. So that is definitely an older cemetery, 1913. Thank you for your comment.
All right, this is the moderator. I'm going to loop back with Dr. Lifshitz. And Dr. Lifshitz, I'm going to request to unmute your microphone. Please click the Unmute Me button when the prompt appears on your device. This is the moderator, Dr. Lifshitz. I see that you're unmuted, but unfortunately I don't hear any audio. A couple options that you have are you can use the call-in option, or what I'll do is I will open up the chat momentarily for you to type in your comment. And then I can read it aloud for you. All right, in the meantime, I will move on to our next individual. I have Lisa, and Lisa, you'll be given 5 minutes to speak and a 15-second warning. Please click the Unmute Me button when the prompt appears on your device.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, wonderful.
Yes.
So I have a little bit of a cold, so hopefully I don't start coughing. I'm giving myself strength to do this because in honor of my mom, who's buried at Mount Tamalpais, and my father-in-law, who's a veteran, and recently 2 years ago, my mother-in-law, my mom, and my father-in-law, when they purchased their plot 30 years ago, when they just opened up, I remember them both going there and looking at the view from the top of Mount Tam. My mother-in-law was an opera singer who loved beautiful places and loved things that were sparkly and clean, and just really fell in love with this place. Today, I go there to the cemetery with tears in my eyes, saying my mom would be so appalled at the condition of this. My mother-in-law, who died 2 years ago, almost at 105, we couldn't take her to the cemetery to visit her husband because of the gopher holes and the condition of the weeds and all that. And also looking at the place, it just looks so run down. It looks like nobody cares. Where now my brother and my sister and I are in a situation. We brought a headstone all the way from Israel. And it was beautiful because my mom came from Israel and she worked at she was with her dad at the Western Wall, her grandpa, excuse me. And we brought this beautiful stone, and it is now in disrepair. It is sinking. It looks horrible. This is not something that's a tribute to my mom, a tribute to all the people. It's not just speaking for myself, but when I look at all the headstones, each person has a name, each person has dignity, each person has family members who care so much about them. We have Rabbi Michael Berenbaum that's there. It's a disgrace. It's immoral. It's wrong. My brother and sister and I are not knowing what to do. Should we replace the headstone that we brought all the way from Israel, that it was so special, that connects my mom to Israel, because she wanted to be buried there, but in a sense, she wanted to be close to family members and knew that we wouldn't be able to see her very often. So we don't know what to do. I have talked to people from Colma and asking for ideas. No one's getting back to me. I can't leave the way it is. My mom would be so upset. The way the headstone is, it's sinking. I can't get to it. And I just need advice of what to do next. Because my brother and my sister and I are just, every time we walk over there, we shake our heads and we're like, how could anybody have a moral compass to let a cemetery go so badly done? It's not right. So I just, again, need advice on that. What to do? Is there anything the cemetery is going to do to fix with the tiltings? So many headstones are tilted. I have sent pictures to the managers of headstones that have fallen over month after month and said, hey, this needs to be fixed, and it's not fixed. And nothing's being done. And so I thank everyone that's involved, everybody that has made comments. It makes me feel like I'm not alone in this feeling of just, I want to honor my mom, I want to honor my father-in-law, and I want to honor my mother-in-law, who are all three there. And I just feel like they keep talking to me like, what's going on? Hey, do something about this. So please, anything you can do to expedite this so family members can go and visit their loved ones sooner than later without feeling that they're in danger, I would really, really appreciate it. On behalf of everybody at Rodef Shalom, Kol Shafar, and all the people. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing.
All right, this is the moderator. Next I have Jim Kirshner. And Jim, you'll be given 5 minutes to speak and a 15-second warning. Please click the unmute me button when the prompt appears on your device.
Hi, this is Jim Kirshner. My wife and I have plots at the Tamalpais Cemetery, and we have many friends buried there. In terms of suggestions for what should be done in the future to prevent this, there's an idea that I read about once, it's not my own, but that maybe the banking industry should be looked at in terms of the model that they have for regulating banks. They have regulations involving financial reserves that must be maintained. They have an ongoing regulatory process that involves actual examinations of banks. They have an orderly process for dealing with situations when failures occur, and they transfer the bank from one bank to another. And they have insurance for failures. So that model may be a good example to look to in terms of future regulation. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. We've taken note of those recommendations. Thank you.
All right, this is the moderator. Next I have Shirley F. And Shirley, if you'll be given 5 minutes to speak and a 15-second warning, please click the unmute me button when the prompt appears on your device.
Hello, can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, we
you hear me?
can. Yes.
Oh, good.
Yes, we can. Go
Yes,
ahead.
now we can hear you.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I have my parents and grandparents are buried in a cemetery in upstate New York that's been there for 300 years, and it's maintained, and there's no problem with it. My husband's parents are buried in Roosevelt Cemetery in Philadelphia. the same issue. Many of his relatives are buried there. We bought plots in 1989 as the Jewish cemetery was founded, with the idea that we were going to have a good place for our children and our grandchildren to come and visit us. You've heard enough about the horrible conditions that are there. We've seen it degraded over years. I think that you've gotten quite a number of suggestions for long range remediation, for better regulation and the enforcement of the regulations. But I think what I want you to go away with is a sense of the immediacy of this problem, that this is something that can't wait for years and years and years. I mean, we are now 30 years into the process, and 40 years almost, and it won't be too long before we're going to be wanting to use our plots there. So I'm hoping that out of this can come not only recommendations to the legislature for new regulation, and that you will be empowered to have oversight over the endowment funds and oversight over operations. But I'm hoping that you can take action immediately to do remediation at Mount Tamalpais Cemetery in San Rafael, because it's unconscionable. It's echoes to many bad things that have happened to Jewish cemeteries over the centuries. And I really hope that you will be able to take immediate action. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, this is the moderator. I'm going to loop back with Dr. Lifshitz. And Dr. Lifshitz, I'm going to request to unmute your microphone. Please click the unmute me button when the prompt appears on your device.
And also, I just want to remind everyone that, if there is these kind of technical difficulties, we would also very much welcome an email directly to us or give us a phone call. Our email is emailcfb@dca.ca.gov.
All right, this is the moderator. Dr. Lifshitz, I'm going to request to unmute your microphone again. When the pop-up shows up to unmute yourself, you're going to click that button. And if this doesn't work, I have also opened up the chat, and you should be able to send me a message so that I can read your comment for you. All right, let me request one more time to unmute and see if that works. All right, this is the moderator. Appears that Dr. Lifshitz is still muted. Once again, I've opened up the chat, which you can access at the bottom right-hand corner of your WebEx screen, and you can send me a message that I can read for you. In the meantime, I will go to our next individual requesting public comment, Samuel Johnson. And Samuel, you'll be given 5 minutes to speak and a 15-second warning. Please click the unmute me button when the prompt appears on your device.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, my name is Samuel Johnson. I'm calling on behalf of the Lincoln Memorial Cemetery down in Compton. And since 1954, my grandfather, my mother, and since then, roughly about 25 to 30 relatives have been buried at the Lincoln Memorial Cemetery. Within the last year or so, we got word that, and it was also appeared on the news, that Lincoln Memorial had headstones stolen. Some of the other grave sites were damaged, and it was just left in disarray, overgrown. Everything was just wrong with the cemetery. It was locked. You couldn't go and visit your loved ones. Everything was just amazing I'm 74 years old. My parents, my grandfather was passed away and bought his site, and he was buried in 1954. My mother was buried in 1954, 6 months after my grandfather. And just recently, I had to switch cemeteries because my sister had a plot that she had purchased under the same scenario that everyone has explained. And for whatever reason, the cemetery was closed. No one attended or took care of it. No notifications went out, and people were just left in limbo, and no one could go and visit their loved ones. Recently, my sister, 96 years old, I had to go to another cemetery, spend astronomical amount of money to bury her, and I couldn't bury her next to her mother, her daughter, her aunts, her uncles, and her first cousins. She could not be buried where she wanted to be buried. She was a retired school teacher, worked very hard all of her life, and I couldn't bury her next to the people that she wanted to be buried next to. I'm sorry for being emotional, but listening to all of these people who are going through this and suffering, it just makes no sense. And we need to do something immediately to rectify this and get things done so these cemeteries don't have, and the people who want to just visit their loved ones can do that without all of this hardship that this is putting us through. So please, whatever you can do immediately to resolve this. I don't want to take my sister out of her where I buried her and bring her to Lincoln, because I just don't know what the future holds for the cemetery. But right now, there are some very good people who are taking care of the cemetery. They're trying to keep the weeds down. They volunteer their help at least once a month. They go and clean it up. They do what they can do, and to keep the cemetery at least so you can go and have some form of respect. And for those people, I dearly appreciate it. And I just ask that you do something to help Lincoln Memorial Cemetery. It's in the city of Compton, and it's just important that something is done. And thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson, for your comments and for sharing that with us.
All right. This is the moderator. Looks like our next person requesting. Oh, I see Dr. Lifshitz may have signed back in. So let me try one more time. Dr. Lifshitz, you'll be given 5 minutes to speak and a 15-second warning. Please click the unmute me button when the prompt appears on your device. And Dr. Lifshitz, fortunately, we're not able to hear you. I also think that maybe the WebEx audio is being caught on the Eldorado Room audio, because I can hear myself echoing.
You can. Oh, I wonder why. We don't hear it here. I can mute us while you try and get the doctor on if you'd like.
I see her microphone's unmuted, but their microphone's unmuted, but unfortunately I am not hearing any audio. Unfortunately, I think Dr. Lifshitz, you might need to either use the chat to type in your comment or like was mentioned earlier, email the board or the Bureau. I can put up, or we can repeat that email address again.
Yes, absolutely. And again, as we walk away from this meeting, you know, our brains are still going. So even if you do have a major comment and you would like to email us additional comments for consideration in the work group, I recommend and encourage you to email us at emailcsb@dca.ca.gov.
All right, and this is the moderator. Next I have MKB. And you'll be given 5 minutes to speak with a 15-second warning. Please click the unmute me button when the prompt appears on your device.
Good morning.
Good morning, we can hear you.
Great, great. My name is Martin Bogetz, and our daughter is buried at Mount Tam. About 4 years ago, she passed, and we've experienced the exact same issues that everyone here has talked about there. I want to apologize. I missed the first 15 minutes, but my assumption is you're working on constructing legislation that addresses the issue of abandoned cemeteries. And it seems to me that
That is
anything
correct.
and we've been talking about suggestions and such, but the fact is, unless our elected legislators and the governor get on board with this issue, it's not going to go anywhere. So I want to encourage everyone who spoke today to write their representative and their senator in the state and make sure they understand clearly how serious and important these issues are to us. And I'm going to encourage our synagogue and the Presbyterian Church to put together a town hall and invite our Marin County legislators to let them know how important, how serious this issue is for us, so that they can work from the other side to move this issue forward. I don't see anything from our elected representatives on this that are public facing. So I appreciate the time.
Yes, thank you. And you are correct. The first 15 minutes, that is what we are discussing. That recent legislation last session, SB 777, has mandated this work group to propose solutions for next legislative session. So that's why we're here, and we are anticipating good things coming out of next session. So thank you for that.
All right, this is the moderator. Next I have Sarah McClendon, and Sarah, you'll be given 5 minutes to speak in a 15-second warning. Please click the unmute me button when the prompt appears on your device.
Hi, this is Sarah McClendon. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to speak again. Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thanks for the opportunity to speak again. I didn't quite use up all of my time, but I will make this brief. I have appreciated so much listening to all of the stories, and it only adds to the things that I had to say and the things my family has experienced there. We can obtain great insight and solutions with our modern technology. And I spent some time talking with AI about a solution for this, a very specific solution. This 60 acres cemetery is completely covered with gopher diggings. And unless we come up with a plan to deal with that as a permanent solution, it doesn't matter what kind of maintenance is done or what is done to make it look better. It's not going to be a permanent fix. I found that AI can provide a very specific plan, a map, a budget for this specific cemetery, and probably for others. I was just looking at this one. So that's my last comment, and thanks for allowing me to speak again.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right. This is the moderator. I have a request from Bayla Esther. And Bayla, you'll be given 5 minutes to speak and a 15-second warning. Please click the unmute me button when the prompt appears on your device.
Hi, I would like to write to you, but every time you say the email address, you say it fast enough that I can't get it, and the words slur together. Could you spell it out, please?
Yes, I can. I apologize for that. So our direct email starts with the word email. So email CSB, it's EMAIL CFB.
CSB, like cemetery at Sam Board. I don't know what.
I know cemetery and funeral board. C is in cat, F is in Frank, B is in boy.
Oh, Frank. Okay, okay. Email CFB
at D is in dog, C is in cat, A is in apple. .ca for California and .gov for government.
Charlie Frank Barbara at dogcatanimal.ca.gov.
Yes, but it's not just CFB, it's email CFB. So it's EMAIL CFB, the whole thing.
And will that get you directly, or do we need to give a name of a person?
That will get to me directly in the subject line. If you want to, title it something like Abandoned Cemeteries or SB 777 or work group, something like that, that will get flagged.
And what's your name?
Gina Sanchez, Gina, and last name is Sanchez. S is in Sam, AN is in Nancy, C is in cat, HEZ as in zebra.
Okay, thank you. And is the other question, are we going to get any kind of access to what the testimonies that happened today or updates, or how do we keep up with what's happening?
Very good question. This is being recorded and will be placed, the recording will be placed on our website shortly after this meeting. It takes about a week or so. Other than that, all the comments here today will be provided to the work group, which will then propose solutions to the legislature on June 1st. So June 1st will be when that becomes, all that information will be released to the public once it's submitted to the legislature.
And what's your website?
It's CFB again, so Cat Frank Apple.
Wait, CFB or Apple? Where's the Apple?
CFB. Oh wait. Oh gosh, I did CBA, didn't I? That's my last job. CFB, Cat Frank Boy, CFB dot .ca .gov. I'm sorry.
Website. Okay.
That's the website.
Okay.
Yep. And there is a contact us up at the top. There's also right in the center there, there's a button that says public meetings. You can click that and that will get you to all our, agendas and the links to the public meetings we've held.
Okay, and the final question I have for you is the people who are sitting at the table, what will be your role after you leave this meeting in regard to what we have all said?
Okay, so people that would be me. We have a few public members that join the meeting, and then we have council and our liaison here for CFB's public meetings. So what happens next is these comments will then get documented and provided to the work group. The work group representatives have been established pursuant to the legislation that just recently went through. And this work group has been tasked with developing a report of solutions to the legislature by June 1. So that is what we are on our way to do. That's what will be happening after this meeting.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right, this is the moderator. I in the chat, I put in the email address again that Gina read out. I have also included the board's website. And it appears at this time there are no further requests for public comment.
Okay, so as there are no further comments, I would again like to thank everyone for being here. I really appreciate the honesty and the time that everyone has taken to share their perspective, their needs, their ideas for solutions. I feel that this has been very informative and a productive meeting. And at this time, at 11:36, I will adjourn this meeting. Thank you very much.